Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with three key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events, live, as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent. Hey there, malcontents. How are you doing? This is David. I'm the malcontent. We have up above my head here the feed that is coming out of Washington, D.C. I'm going to share what we know. Forgive me for looking down. I was engaged in some other stuff here, and I am just trying to resize. Well, I'm going to do this. We'll just go like this then if it's not going to let me resize this. Aha, that's what I need right there. Now I can see everything. And so right now what we're looking at is a live feed that is coming out of Washington, D.C. in the Capitol. Let me share with you what we know up at this point. At approximately 1:05 p.m., 911 calls started coming in about shots fired at the Capitol. A vehicle rammed barricades, inner barricades at the Capitol at the same entrance that is typically used by senators to access the Capitol building and their staffers. Two police officers were struck by the vehicle in the ramming, and the vehicle rammed barricades that look very similar to these barricades that you see right here. These are not the barricades that were rammed. This is an outer perimeter that has been set up by the National Guard and federal authorities after this incident. What we know is one police officer has died from their injuries of being struck by the vehicle. Another police officer is injured. We don't know the degree of their injuries. The suspect involved in this has also died from gunshot wounds they received from police. We do not know if this was politically motivated. We do not know if this was ideologically motivated, or was this just a disturbed person. There was a woman, if you remember, this is actually a while back. There was a woman, she tried to gain access to the White House, and then she drove down, and then she got in a confrontation with Capitol Police. She had her baby in the back seat of the car. This is, it's like 6 or 7 years ago. And I believe she was armed with a knife, and she ended up being shot and killed by Capitol Police in that particular incident. The person, after they rammed the barricades, after the officers were hit, reports are they got out of the vehicle, started approaching officers with the knife, and this is why the shots were fired. And so, as you can see from the shot above, they're right now at Constitution and First. So this is an area that was set up for the PIO and for the media briefing. The media briefing has happened. I am seeing this one comment about, is there a place to submit stories for y'all to possibly cover? Yes, there is. Tips at malcontentment.com. TIPS at malcontentment.com. So absolutely can send us news tips there. Tips at malcontentment.com, and they do get reviewed. Anyway, this is the sum total of what we know. This is the live shot that we're seeing out of Washington, D.C. The Capitol is on lockdown. Capitol grounds are on lockdown. Staffers, senators, Congress critters receive texts to stay away from doors and windows. Historically, April is a hotbed month in the United States historically when it comes to acts of terrorism, attacks of potential incidents. You have the Murrow building happened in April, Columbine happened in April. White nationalists have dates that they gravitate to in April. There is no major significance to April 2nd, but one of the reasons that we have heard that they are keeping this heightened response for right now is because April is this heated month. So, no, this didn't happen during the press conference. This was just a random individual, and so what we don't know anything, right? We don't know. When I say we don't know anything, what I mean by that is we don't know if this was a politically motivated incident, if this was a ideological incident, or was this just somebody that I hate the term suicide by cop. I really hate that term because I think it's sometimes used as an excuse for police to behave the way that they behaved. Police officer was struck by the vehicle and has died from their injuries. Look, I'll be the first to go, but if that's where it's at, then the surviving law enforcement officers have every right, in my view, to use what actions they need to protect themselves. But what we don't know is that again, the motivation of this particular individual. And again, the barricades that they struck, you can actually see these barricades going up right now on the live feed up there. You saw them go down and they go up. These are the type of barricades they struck. And again, they didn't strike these barricades. This person actually got all the way to the Capitol's, got all the way to the Capitol entrance where senators and their staffers typically enter the Capitol. Well, and I'm hesitating on, Shell, I see your comment there, and I'm hesitating on speculating that this was a person that was in, a mental health crisis, and this was their way of ending that crisis. Because again, we don't know. So there is a lot that we can speculate on at this point because everything is so polarized. It's real easy to start going down rabbit holes, and I'm not going to go down rabbit holes in this. But I do think that Michael in the comments up here has made a point, and this was one of my first thoughts was, well, I guess the security measures around the Capitol are going to properly stay in place. The other thing I think that we can kind of conclude out of this is that the security measures that have been set up in the Capitol after the 1/6 insurrection, at least for this particular small incident, work. So, yeah, the press conference that you saw would have been in relation to this event, and so we were waiting to get more information. I just didn't want to get on here and go, hey, something's happened in the Capitol, and I could just start speculating and getting people spun up with a bunch of we don't know information. Dane, what we're hearing is the officer was killed because they were struck by the vehicle when the vehicle attacked the barricade. So 2 officers were struck by the vehicle. 1 officer has died. The other officer has unknown injuries. Oh, how ironic. Back the blue. Yeah, back the blue. Did you feel that way on 1/6 when their eyeballs were getting gouged out and they were getting pepper sprayed and getting fire extinguishers thrown and head injuries and stuff? Spare me the back the blue. So we don't know what the motivation is, but the officer was died not by gunfire, not by knives, but was struck by the vehicle at the barricades. And again, I can't stress enough, it is not this intersection where this happened. This is where the media was asked to assemble for the press conference that was done a little while ago. The PIO was at this intersection of First and Constitution over here by the Senate Park. So this is where they asked to. Got it. Okay, I got it. Thank you on explaining the irony. Irony is lost without a winky face, for whatever that's worth. They struck these type of barricades. So here's what we don't know. Were the barricades up as the car approached? Did they flip the barricades up because the car was charging to that entrance? And were the officers then essentially trapped between the car and the barricades? There is a lot that we don't know. Here we go.
Well, yes, there was another Capitol Police officer who was also injured. They were all taken to the hospital. We've now got confirmation that one of the Capitol Police officers and the driver of the vehicle have died subsequently. So this is the situation here. The Capitol is in complete lockdown at the moment. As you can see, National Guard here behind me. There were still some 2,500 National Guard stationed in Washington after they've been deployed here.
All right, we got a tiny little bit more of information from that. What we can just kind of hear is the murmur of all of the press that is on the scene there that is reporting. So the individual that charged after ramming the barricade, after striking two police officers, charged the checkpoint with a machete. So we've just got that additional piece of information out of there. A machete to me implies a little more premeditation than, say, somebody's having a bad day and they've just decided that this is how they're going to do it. And there you go. You can see how you'll get to see in a minute how, in a few seconds here, you get to see how quick these barricades go up. Because those barricades, if you watch in this frame, here they go, 1,000, 2, and that's it. By about the 1.5 second point, you could be driving a lifted F-150. You're not getting over it anymore. So these barricades go up really quick. And as other people have noted in the comments, I saw that a little while ago, you know, there's essentially like a panic button that they can hit, and boom, they go up. And all we can speculate is that the officers were on the other side of the barricades, and that the one officer got hit was, we're speculating at this point, was hit between the car and the barricade. The pictures of the car, let me see if I can find you a picture of the car. 1 second. Bear with me as I look around here. See if we can find you a picture of the car.
Congress itself, or most of the representatives, they would either go up this road or the road behind, entering the Capitol from the other side. This is basically the major point of access. Now, before this, this road behind being Constitution Avenue.
I'm going to go ahead and drop the volume on the other, because I hear there's like a cacophony, and basically people are just doing what I'm doing. They're just trying to explain the situation of what happened. So we have this. Where did this just go? Like, seriously, the tab just disappeared. What the heck? Is it just behind my YouTube window here? Is that the problem? No. Give me 1 second. This is just so weird. This tab just totally disappeared. There we go. So this is where this happened. These are the barricades that they hit. You can see that there's a significant amount of damage here. The vehicle was a sedan. It looks like a Honda. Don't hold me to that. But it looks like a newer Honda Accord that is struck here. Trunk lid is up. We have no idea then of registration, you know, what state it's come from, or if it's a Washington, D.C. vehicle. So anyway, that's what that's the vehicle there. And then there was this clip on Twitter from Jake Sherman of Punchbowl News. And we'll go ahead and play this clip for you.
Helicopter landing on the east front of the Capitol. A U.S. Park Police helicopter.
So this was just seconds after the within seconds after the incident happened. This helicopter flew in on the Capitol on the east wing. And reports are from people that have worked in the Capitol, that have lived in D.C., they're saying they have never seen anything like this with a helicopter flying in like this in this scenario, and then the police moving in.
This is unusual. I'm taping this. This is a helicopter literally landing on the east front of the Capitol. I've never in my life.
So at the point that he's reporting this from Punchbowl News, what's important to understand is, they're not aware of what's going on at this point. They're not aware of the of this incident. I don't want to use the word attack yet, because we don't know if this was an attack.
Hour and a half or so. So this is not normal. Obviously, this has been put in place.
And there has been a significant increase in the number of National Guard troops that are on the ground there. The captioning that you're seeing is automatic captioning. This is essentially a pool feed that we're watching right now. So there actually is not anybody talking. What there is, if I turn it up, you can hear it just sounds like a cacophony of like 10 different reporters talking, and you can even discern a couple of different languages.
About to deploy, maybe we will be able to move further up Constitution Avenue shortly.
And again, you're going to get to see how quickly these gates can be operated to go up and down. And now you'll see how quickly that they will go back up.
We were not allowed on this particular roadblock. Now, previously with the media credentials, we were able to have free access to the Capitol as a whole.
So I just wanted to hop on for a quick live to just kind of, this is the sum total of what we know. What I can just do is I'll use the same techniques I use on other breaking news stories. Let me see if there's anything else that I can find. What I can confirm for you at this point is this. There is one police officer has died of injuries related to being struck by a vehicle. Actually, I may switch you to another live feed.
Fired, presumably by the police. We'll learn more about that in a press conference here in the next few minutes from the Capitol Police. The suspect is dead. 2 Capitol Police officers were injured when that vehicle slammed into that
Can you guys hear that
We
feed?
don't know the extent of their injuries. We do understand that a helicopter from the U.S. Park Police was brought in. That helicopter is equipped to transport the injured and likely flew them to one of the 2 trauma centers in the D.C. area, either MedStar, which is the level 1 trauma center, that I believe is the closest, or GW Hospital, which also has a trauma center. And either one would have been a very, very...
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Acting Chief Yogananda Pittman for the United States Capitol Police. It is with a heavy heart that I come here this afternoon to shed some light on the incident that occurred at the United States Capitol.
The supplemental guard has arrived at House Barricade.
At approximately 1:02 hours this afternoon, a suspect entered what we refer to as the North Barricade of the Capitol. The suspect rammed his car into 2 of our officers and then hit the North Barricade barrier. As such time, the suspect exited the vehicle with a knife in hand. Our officers then engaged that suspect. He did not respond to verbal commands. The suspect did start lunging toward U.S. Capitol Police officers, at which time U.S. Capitol Police officers fired upon the suspect. At this time, the suspect has been pronounced deceased. 2 U.S. Capitol Police officers were transported to 2 different hospitals, and it is with a very, very heavy heart that I announce one of our officers has succumbed to his injuries. We are not able to release any information, names, age, date of birth, or anything of that nature at this time, because we still have to notify the next of kin. I just ask that the public continue to keep U.S. Capitol Police and their families in your prayers. This has been an extremely difficult time for U.S. Capitol Police after the events of January 6th and now the events that have occurred here today. So I ask that you keep our U.S. Capitol Police family in your thoughts and prayers. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the Metropolitan Police Chief, Mr. Robert Conti, for the Metropolitan Police Department's portion of this investigation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Robert Conti, Acting Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department. Our members responded to the U.S. Capitol today just after 1:00 p.m. To investigate an officer-involved shooting. At this time, the Metropolitan Police Department's Homicide Division, as well as our Internal Affairs Division, will now take over the investigation with respect to the shooting death that occurred, as well as the officer's death. There's not a lot of information that we can release to the public at this time, but we certainly will be working very closely with our partners at the Park Police, at the U.S. Capitol Police. At this time, I just want to extend my deepest condolences on behalf of the entire Metropolitan Police Department to all of the officers at the United States Capitol Police for their service and unfortunately for the loss of life that have occurred here today at the United States Capitol Police.
Is there an ongoing threat here on Capitol Hill or in the neighborhood? What can you tell residents that live here as well as folks that work in this area?
At this time, it does not appear to be an ongoing threat. Obviously, we're in the very early stages of our investigation. We need to obviously understand the motivation behind this senseless act. So the Metropolitan Police Department will certainly be doing that.
I know you said the suspect is dead, sir. Any reason to know that he was known to Capitol Police or MPD beforehand? Any indication that he was somebody that had been around the Capitol before, maybe spotted, anything like that?
It does not appear that he is known to the Capitol Police or the Metropolitan Police Department at this time.
Is this a terrorism-related?
Sir?
Is this a terrorism-related incident?
It does not appear to be terrorism-related, but obviously we'll continue to investigate to see if there's some type of nexus along those lines.
Will
yes,
the National Guard's posture change at all? What's their mission look like the next couple of days?
I'll refer that to the United States Capitol Police.
Chief, did the suspect say anything or yell anything at the time?
I would say that at this time, the investigation is still in its preliminary stages, so we don't have that information. And the Capitol Police, as far as its security posture, remains in a steady state at this time. We are very thankful for our National Guard partnership. We do have National Guard on the campus, but the security posture at this time remains the same.
Chief, you said that obviously the motive, you're still looking at the motive. I understand that. Any reason to believe that there was any specific target of member of Congress? Was there a specific member of Congress that the suspect may have been trying to go after? Any indication who that may have been, if that was the case?
We do not have the suspect on file with U.S. Capitol Police, so there's no indication at this time that there's any nexus to any member of Congress.
Can you speak also to
any other kind of motive?
Yes, ma'am.
Drugs or alcohol involved? Do you believe you found any of that in the car?
We cannot confirm that, but the investigation is ongoing.
Any weapons in the car?
The suspect did exit the vehicle with a knife in hand, and at that time he started to lunge toward, run aggressively toward U.S. Capitol Police office.
Any weapons?
No, that part of the investigation is still ongoing. The scene is still being processed by Metropolitan Police Department, so we will have additional information at a later time.
Did the suspect transported to acted alone?
Did the suspect ever come in contact? I know you mentioned the lunge, but did the suspect come in contact and wrestle with the police officer there?
The investigation is ongoing. From what we can see from video at this time, I do not see the suspect wrestling with a U.S. Capitol Police officer, but when he exited the vehicle, the knife was clearly in his hand, and he did start to run toward the officers. So at this time, this is all the questions that I am going to take. I turn it back over to Metropolitan Police Department's chief. Again, I ask you to please keep the United States Capitol Police family in your thoughts and prayers at this time. It has been an extremely difficult and challenging year for us, but we will get through this, and we do appreciate the community's support. Thank you.
Can you give us an update on the second officer?
Hey, folks. We understand that you guys have a lot of questions. Obviously, this is a complex investigation. We are going to be putting out more information as we can on social media, and if we decide to do any more briefings later on, we'll of course let you guys know right away. Thank you.
Chief, can you give us an update on?
Chief Conti, can we ask you one more question?
So again, we just heard from Acting Chief.
The grand fabric.
Oh, let's wait here for one more question.
USCP has changed their intelligence, the way they're sharing it. They've been doing what they can to try to beef up the security here, and still they're under attack. What is the answer?
Yeah, well, I think, just part of our responsibilities and duties as law enforcement officers, we're here to protect and serve community. Clearly, this was someone who was actively trying to just get at whoever or whatever. We just don't know right now. So we have a responsibility to investigate that, to get to the bottom of this, whether the attack was at law enforcement or whoever. We have a responsibility to get to the bottom of it, and we'll do that. Thank you.
At the scene or at the hospital?
So again, we just heard from, that was the chief of the Metropolitan Police, Chief Conti there. We also heard from the acting chief, Yogananda Pittman of the U.S. Capitol Police, revealing that a U.S. Capitol...
Okay, so while we were broadcasting that, able to research some additional information on what we know on this. According to heavy.com, which is a website that I have a lot of respect for their really, really fast research. And because they move fast, they don't get it 100% right, but they are like 99% right. And I have huge respect for them. So they are one of my go-tos when I need information really, really quickly. According to heavy.com, Capitol Police are saying that the individual, my word, individual, has no file, that is, quote unquote, with authorities there. That tells us a couple of things. One, they know who the person is, or they have a tentative ID on the person. That's number one. Number two, that individual has been cross-checked at least off of known files of people that they are watching. So this was not somebody that they were watching. In the press conference, when they were saying suspect, there was a slip and there was a he. So it sounds like the suspect is a he. I know the police said knife. We have heard machete from multiple sources. We heard machete reported by other reporters. So we're going with machete on that. The other thing that we've learned a little bit more from here, let me go back to her talking.
Taken down a lot of the fencing, but those barriers thankfully remained, and that car didn't go any further. Diane.
Martha, thank you. And I want to go to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, you know, the law enforcement was highly unprepared for the January 6th insurrection, but they have been prepared for another potential attack ever since then. We still don't know the motive behind what happened here, but what's the reaction in law enforcement to see something like this happen, even when security is so high?
Well, I've been on the phone with sources since this incident took place, and unfortunately, I was given guidance before the press conference that one of the officers had died. And I can tell you, Diane, that they're crestfallen. This Capitol Police Department has gone through a lot with the insurrection. One source described today as just a day of infamy where a normal day, a beautiful day in Washington, exploded into violence. Literally, suspect pressing his way through the barrier with a car, getting out of the vehicle with a knife, fatally injuring an officer somewhere in the process. We don't know exactly the precise way that the officer died yet, but we know that this was an extraordinarily violent episode. Law enforcement sources continue to give guidance that it appears to be an isolated incident. You heard them say at the press conference they do not believe that it's terror-related at this early stage. Every aspect.
It is with a heavy heart that I come here this afternoon to shed some light on the incident that occurred at the United States Capitol.
Not exactly sure why it all of a sudden dropped back to partial screen, because I didn't do anything on my side. I see what happened. I see in the lower one. The ABC feed we're watching dropped. C-SPAN is essentially replaying that press conference from a different camera angle. There is another thing that we have now able to, we've got confirmation the suspect is a he. We heard that reporter talking about, they said he multiple times, so we know that the individual that did this was a male. I'm seeing lots of comments. You could tell I'm not in, everything is reversed in here. There we go. Comments. I don't broadcast in here that often. Like, I've got it really down in studio too, and I'm getting really rusty here at the desk. But I'm seeing lots of comments here calling out events that happened during the Trump administration in June, and the flat out constitutional violations, human rights violations, and international incidents that were caused by Capitol Police and other organizations. I'm not going to deny any of that. And I just called them for what they were: constitutional violations, human rights violations, and international incidents. Let's not forget, international incident number one that will always be etched in my mind was the Australian news crew that was on the equivalent of the Today Show for Australia, broadcasting live, and they were attacked live for all of Australia to see, like viciously, violently attacked while trying to identify themselves as international press. Caused a little bit of an international incident on live TV. I appreciate all of that. And look, I don't think anybody can question my record on trying to hold the police accountable for things. And I'm not going to sit here and go, and now we have to hold hands and kumbaya because a police officer got killed. No, I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is that there has been an attack on the Capitol. 2 people are dead. This is an ongoing problem. We live in a very polarized time of sectarian violence, and that we have a problem in this country that goes hand in hand with the police and the authorities, and to some degree within the military, of infiltration of white nationalist organizations into those organizations. Terrorist organizations like the Three Percenters, they're called a terrorist organization in Canada, have actively recruited and gone after police departments to get Three Percenters in their ranks. And I know that the Three Percenters will argue, particularly ones in the Pacific Northwest, we have no affiliation with the Three Percenters that are doing that on these guys. You're part of a terrorist organization. It's just, it's like not all 3%ers. I mean, that's like just, like saying not all men, not everyone's racist. It's like, you're ignoring the freaking problem here. Become ungovernable. So, the George Floyd trial, like, I could totally rat hole on that, and I don't want to rat hole on that right now. I am going to go ahead and wrap up the stream because we've kind of know everything that we're going to know at this point. And what we know at this point is a male suspect that appears to be I said a Honda initially. It's definitely a Nissan. I don't know if it's a Nissan Maxima or a Nissan Altima. Driving a Nissan sedan, a newer vehicle, struck two Capitol police officers by the north entrance of the Capitol. The north entrance is used for senators and their staffers to enter in. They then struck barricades, got out of their vehicle. He was armed with, DC police are calling it a knife. We have heard it described in multiple news reports online and in audio as a machete. So we will just say a very large knife. Would not respond to commands to officers, approached officers, and was shot. One officer is in unknown condition. One officer is dead. The individual that approached with the very large knife is also dead. What we know from heavy.com is that there are reports that that individual was not on any, they did not have a file on the individual. It was not on any watch list. So that at least indicates to us that they have identity. If the word is they're not on a watch list, that means investigators there have a tentative ID on who that person is. So this is what we need to know. Jaws, I totally agree with you. I mean, I totally agree with this. There is clearly a problem. It was all on display. It went full on in display on January 6th. Not going to argue that point at all. There's about 2,500 National Guard there, Cheryl, and in the feed we were showing earlier, there was a ton of National Guard that were on the scene. There was a ton of them. There was an immediate mobilization, and so we saw that happening. And they are, as we heard in the press conference, they don't believe that they believe that the situation is over. They are staying in a state of heightened alert until they can kind of confirm that things are going to be over. So he is not a white male, and how do we know their race? Where do you have information on that? If you're going to go ahead and drop something like in the comments, and go ahead, where's your source? I have a feeling just by their again, not sure if someone's being sarcastic. I'm going to be a little careful this time. Do we have actual information on the race? Oh, good Lord. Yeah, it's a... See, now, like, looking at the comments, I'm like, Gateway Pundit is is literally a fake news site. So I don't know if somebody, what's probably being lost here is the sarcasm of the sarcasm of the sarcasm. I can't discern sarcasm in the comments. MSNBC is reporting new details. What is MSNBC reporting? Are they reporting on a live feed, or are they reporting? Oh, wait, I'm not hearing anything.
In a situation like this, in various federal agencies, trying to track down, of course, something like
We're listening
to
audio
page,
from
but,
MSNBC.
how deeply they'll delve into everything that could possibly be online, how many people they may talk to, where are they going to try to figure out, besides this sketch that we have now, that he was someone who seemed despondent, who had lost his job, about what might have been the motivation for this.
Well, your question sort of answers itself in a way. You've given the indication of all the things they will look at. I will say that we have to remember that as a technical matter, this is an investigation for the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. The federal agencies, of course, will assist them and gather information for them, and in fact are doing that now. But you're right, they'll look at all those things. They'll obviously look at his...
We
all
don't
these things
know
we've been
Rise
talking about, his
PDX
Facebook
because we came into the
postings,
middle of that
any,
conversation, so we don't know, were they
emails, phone
speculating
calls,
or were they
chats he's
stating?
had.
We don't know.
Talk
Let's
to his
continue to
friends,
listen.
talk to his family, try to paint a picture of what was in his mind when he came to the Capitol, and then at the same time, they will literally try to trace his movements, put that car in reverse, and trace his movements leading up to today. Not just the minutes, not just the hours, but the days. He had a knife. When did he get the knife? Why did he have a knife with him? You know, try to build a picture of what was going through, what perhaps very complicated things were going through his mind when he came to the U.S. Capitol today. It's going to take some time to build this because obviously the most productive line of inquiry in a situation like this would be to question the suspect, but that's not going to be possible. So they will have to depend on what they get from
All right, we have a
friends and
name
family
and
members
an
and his
age.
own
25-year-old Noah Green. We have a name
Thanks
and
so
an
much
age.
for that, Pete. Let me bring in former
He has been
FBI
identified
special agent
as
and NBC News
25-year-old
national security
Noah
analyst
Green.
Clint Watts, who is a distinguished research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. What are you thinking right now, Clint, as you're hearing this? That we're getting a very sort of cursory first look at a 25-year-old young man who has lost his job, is looking for some sort of spiritual guidance, may have some ties to Virginia. That is the license plate on the car. What are the things, what are the questions that you have that you think investigators will be able to get some answers to fairly
All right,
quickly?
I said that we're going to go OTA.
Thanks,
We're
Chris.
going
I
to keep
think one of
covering.
the first things out of the gate that investigators are going to be worried about is any potential other connections there might be to other individuals. You know, they want to know, does he have any associations? Is it part of an ideological movement? As you said, based on what we know, it seems like he might have been looking for some sort of guidance. We don't know what that means, but you want to make sure and eliminate any other threats. The other part we want to know right away is, like, why this target? Is it attached to some, you know, our natural inclination is to go to, we just saw January 6th. We've just seen a lot of security around the Capitol, a lot of debate about defending it. But was that just a target of opportunity for this individual? You know, it's
White
maybe not
people
tied to
don't
any
look for
ideological
spiritual
cause
guidance?
just because it's something they'd heard recently.
Really?
I think the next part of it
Really?
is really getting
Is
to
it like
why
going
this
to
target,
church
but also
part of
what did they do in
spirituality?
terms of any sort of signaling,
Oh my
any
God.
sort of you know, pre-calculus and reconnaissance about
Do we
why
know
they
they're
might
from
pick this
Indiana?
target. Was it
Because
just
we
a
just
target of
heard them
opportunity
say
for
speculation
somebody
they
who
were
maybe,
from potentially
wanted
connected to
push,
Virginia.
the limits of this and make a spectacular incident? You might remember back, I think you and I were on talking
Indiana's
about the
a
national attack
awful white
on
state.
Christmas Day, where it was ultimately never really tied to much of anything other than that personal grievance of that individual. And is that what we're seeing here? Or is it really part of something much larger that needs to be really looked into? And I'm sure with January 6th and the insurrection, they want to eliminate any sort of connections there might be to any of those folks that were involved in the insurrection. At this point, there doesn't look like there is any, but it is a very curious target to pick, especially since this is a target we've been talking about for greater than 2 months.
I think I have found them, and I am working
One of the
on
things that struck
confirmation
me,
on
Clint,
that.
was how
I
quickly
think
they
I have
moved, not
found
just
who
to have
they
the
are.
press conference, but to say in that press conference, such a short time after the incident happened, that at least it did not appear to be
But I don't want to put it on
terrorism-related.
blast.
And then a short
But
time
I do
after
think
that,
I
we saw them
found it.
taking the
Because
crime scene takedown.
an individual
They
I just
lifted the
found,
lockdown. Are you
Indiana
surprised
matches
that they
up,
made that statement
age
and made that
matches
move
up,
so quickly?
job loss matches up.
I am surprised, but I also think it's the right call. I mean, in terms of the way the media cycles and the social media cycles have really played out, if you went out on the
And
social media right now, you
if it
see a
is the
lot of different
person,
names
they're
thrown
as
around
white
by a
as
lot
me.
of different groups that are trying to pin it on whatever their outgroup is. You know, they're trying to create conspiracies. So it was a smart strategy to get out in front of this if they had confirmation who the individual was and if they could be quite certain that it wasn't tied to broader terrorism. And I think to remind people what terrorism is, it is the use of violence or the threat of violence in pursuit of political, social, or religious change. What they're saying here, I think, is that they don't know that, or at least they haven't seen anything to indicate it's part of a broader terrorism plot. And I think that's probably
I'm doing some
to
research
move in
because I
front of
do.
the
I think
media
I found the
cycle a little
person,
bit
but
and try and calm
I don't
some
want to put
nerves
it
and
on
calm some
blast.
fears. It
and
is a
then
quick
light
press
up
conference,
somebody that
and
isn't
I've not
related
seen
to
too
this
many
at
like
all.
that in recent years.
Do we have any confirmation that they're
If
from
you could stay with us,
Indiana?
Clint, I want to go back to Scott McFarlane, investigative reporter for NBC News 4 in Washington. And Scott, I understand you have some more information on the second Capitol Hill police officer.
Yeah, Chris, the condition of the second officer is front of mind right now. We initially got a report from the Capitol Police Union that officer suffered what they called severe injuries. But in a follow-up report, the union's telling us only one of the two officers was medevaced to the hospital. They went to two different hospitals. One officer was medevaced, the other one was brought by some other means. And medevacs are a good indication of the severity of injuries. And medevac is for the most emergent of situations.
Now that I have a picture,
the hospitals
it
in
might make it a
question are
little
just
easier
10 to
to see if
12
they have a
blocks from the
Facebook
Capitol.
profile.
We have one officer who was not medevaced, but they characterized the injuries as severe. Not a medical designation, that's a union telling us. But of course, it's the big open question right now. Not only what was the nature of this assault, Chris? Was it with the knife or was it with the blue sedan? But also, how severely injured is the second officer? This is a traumatic moment in an already traumatic year for U.S. Capitol Police. They have already lost 3 officers this year. And for the second time in 90 days, Chris, there's been a gunshot at the Capitol complex.
Yeah. Thank you for that update, Scott. Former ATF Special Agent in Charge and MSNBC terrorism analyst Jim Kavanaugh is with us as well, back with us. And I want to get your reaction to what we've learned about this suspect so far.
Well, Chris, it looks like from what they're describing, this is an aggrieved person who has decided to use this location to launch his attack. You know, just yesterday, we had a mass shooting in Southern California, Orange City, California, where a person who was aggrieved that for personal reasons went into a business, locked the doors, and killed 4 people, including a 9-year-old boy. So that person took out his vengeance and his anger and his frustration at people he knew. Other attackers take a broader sphere. They attack City Hall or the dome of the Capitol for whatever reason, a grievance they have. Now, this could be a few things that we discussed. I mean, they're saying it's not terrorism, so they don't have, I think what that tells us, Chris, and Clint laid it out pretty well, but what it tells us is they do not have any indication, they do not have any information, and they do not have any reason to believe it's terrorism. And I agree with that. There's nothing we know. Now, they'll still have to look at his stuff to see if there's anything, you know, that could be. But right now, they're seeing as a personal issue why he went there. Was it just a suicide by cop? Guess what? There's all
I'm
those cops
researching,
there.
so
And if
bear
you try
with
to
me
make
here.
an
That's
attack
why I'm
there
just quiet
on
with
the
audio
police,
feed
you're going
going.
to probably wind up dead. Did he do it because he was attacking the symbol of democracy in the world, the United States Capitol? Maybe. You know, other attackers do that at the White House as well. You know, did he want to attack a member? Did he have a name in his head that we might find on his computer or social media? And, you know, we think of these things logically. You know, I'm not going to go up there and I'm not going to meet with the president. You know, logical people understand that's not the way it works. But when people get in emotional distress, when people get, you know, their minds spinning in different ways, sometimes they think they can. You know, there was a man just in the last few weeks arrested outside the vice president's residence who traveled from Texas. He had an AR-15 in his car, which he left at the convention center, and he was walking around the vice president's residence at the National Observatory, and he told the officers he wanted to speak with and meet with the vice president. So, you know, people have these things in their head. So did he have something in his head that he was going to meet with, attack, or kill a member of Congress? You know, many of the insurrectionists had that goal. And people do have that goal when they're disturbed. So we need...
No, we just lost the feed. So this is what I know. According to NBC's Pete Williams on MSNBC, the suspect of the Capitol Police incident, 25-year-old Indiana man named Noah Green, might have lived in Virginia. On his Facebook page, he notes he is a follower of the Nation of Islam. And I am trying to find a link to his Facebook page. Would help if I spelt it right. Bear, I know I'm like being quiet. And you're just they're staring at me, my talking head right now. Right now, I'm just trying to see if I can find you another feed. We can go ahead and pull the feed up, and then I'll keep digging. I'm trying to find the Facebook page. If it's hard with such a common name. Yeah, here we go. We'll give you this feed to watch instead of just watching me. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull something up, and I want to preface this with not Noah Green, and I want to pull this up because I can guarantee you the chuds are going to run with this is Noah Green. This is not Noah Green. Not. This is not Noah Green. Notice the date, October 13, 2020, and this person is in jail. Not Noah Green. Can guarantee you you're going to see that person's face out there as this is Noah Green. I'm not seeing a link to his Facebook page anywhere. Like, how the hell did they find his Facebook so fast? I'm seeing lots. I'm seeing tons of, like, according to his Facebook page, according to his Facebook page, according to his Facebook page. But I am not seeing anything that links to the actual Facebook page. I do believe I have them identified. I am just trying to find a picture. Like, I'm just scrolling through No Green profiles right now, and I'm looking at the little thumbnail pictures. I have a picture of a Noah Green that I've identified. It fits the age. Indiana fits. Job loss fits. But again, I'm not ready to put that up because I don't have the confirmation. If I could find the Facebook profile and look at the two pictures and go, bingo, then yes, I'll have additional information on this. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm glad I found a Noah Green, and it's a different Noah Green. So I don't think that I had found it on the other. So I'm just going to keep scrolling. Thank you for that update. I just saw that scroll by in the comments that the lockdown has been lifted. So they must have concluded at this point that that there is no longer a threat. Now this is another one that I had found. There are a lot of Noah Greens that live in Indiana. There's another one. Yeah, I would say it's not this Noah Green either. How many Noah Greens are there in Indiana? This is crazy. Is everyone in Indiana named Noah Green? How did they find this Facebook profile so fast? And I know I saw some in the comments here that it may have been locked down. I am about ready to just give up. There's another one. Never give up. I do have client work I have to move on to here, but here you go. Now you get to see what my life is like when we're researching a story. All right, let me check another's. All right, we got 5 fast facts from Heavy.com. We got 5 fast facts from Heavy.com. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. No link on there for no link on Heavy.com to their Facebook page. So I'm wondering if Facebook has yanked their page down. And I'm about ready to, I am truly now about ready to call the stream here. Shella, that's the same thing. All the Noah Greens that I'm finding, right, I'm trying to zero in on this Nation of Islam tie. I'm not finding anything Nation of Islam on any of them. I'm not even finding things I could squint and go, maybe. I did find on another channel a Noah Green where, and I'm glad I didn't put them up because I did find that person's Facebook page. The age lines up, the job loss lines up, and the geography lined up. But it's definitely not that individual unless the slim possibility that the Nation of Islam thing is a canard and not true, because I have found an individual, they're 25-ish. They don't have their exact age, but they're definitely, when I look at their timeline of their life, they're 25-ish. They're from Indiana. They've got a connection to Virginia. They lost their job. I could see that. But I didn't find that information through Facebook. I found that through another platform. There's no mention of Nation of Islam or anything on that platform. I found their profile on Facebook. I see no mention at all of Nation Islam. I just see a pretty generic, ordinary Facebook page, and I can see some of their posts. Clearly can't see all of them, but I can see some of them. So, don't know.
Right at 1:02 Eastern Time today is red and blue sedan rammed the checkpoint from the north side of the U.S. Capitol in time. Our vehicle is just beyond DC Police and U.S. Capitol.
All right, somebody, I've got a better lead of what I'm looking for now. 1 second. I'm going to do another search. I have a better lead. I have a much better lead of what I'm looking for, but I'm doing a trust button verify right now.
U.S. Capitol police officers were injured during this incident. They'll take them to the hospital, and sadly, one of those two officers has been pronounced dead. The second is definitely a serious condition. We're now the active police chief for U.S. Capitol Police.
I have a photograph. I think we have found their profile. And I will go ahead and pull it up. I'm looking to confirm it because I'm just looking for one missing part in this profile.
The suspect had any member of Congress in mind who they ran at the checkpoint this afternoon. The investigation remains wide open. Many questions left unanswered. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kevin Lewis. Back to you. Beautiful. All right, turn the microphone off. Call Miguel.
Wow, I think their profile literally got pulled down as I was looking at it. Fuck. Should have screenshotted this. Damn it. I was just getting ready to flip this over. I was absolutely convinced that I had found the profile. Like, I was literally ready to flip it over. And it was pulled down by Facebook as I was looking at it. So, shit. But I have confirmation, so let me do this. I'm going to pull this over here. Damn it, I should have screenshotted it. This here is Noah Green. And this is the same profile that I was looking at. These are just a couple of screenshots. I was actually getting ready to read some of the posts. I literally found, because what I was looking for was Indiana. I was looking for, because, you know, they said they're Indiana. I couldn't find anything on his Facebook page. I hit the about, popped up, Indiana came up, and then it literally flipped to this. And the page is gone. If I do a Control F5, I'm just doing a hard refresh, the page is gone. So Facebook literally yanked the page down just as I was looking at it. Let me go back to the go back here. And I'll show you what we know at this point, which isn't a lot. This is Noah Green. They have this post up here, which is from March 17th. And I know, particularly for those of you on phones, you're just looking at, Wayback Machine might be a good idea. Thank you. Yes. One second. We're going to try Wayback Machine. Wayback Machine is a really good idea. Bear with me. I'm just going to pull this all up because this is actually trippy to me. So you can see my history, and I'm not revealing anything here in this that wasn't going on, but you can see how feverishly I'm looking around trying to find Noah Green. The page link that I had is actually even gone from my history. The page link from Facebook to his page is gone from my Google history. This is kind of like what the fuck for me right now, and I don't have the watch the F-bomb buttons here, right? Because this is just search results. I'll click on this so you can see what happens. This just takes you to the search, not to the page. I clicked on his page. If I click on this one, this will just take me to top of the Facebook page. Absolutely crazy. It's like I never even searched for the guy. Oh, wait a minute. I found the link. There was another tab that was open that I hadn't closed, and that search result was still in that tab. I have the link. I'm just going to go ahead and have you see this in real time. It's not going to like that URL. Well, there you go. Nada. So he may have had his privacy settings set up that the page wasn't crawled. Let me try Internet. Oh, this is Internet Archive. Well, damn it. Should have just started screenshotting like crazy. All right. Let me go back to the other one. We'll go back to this. I can tell you what I did read beyond this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this here. Which is an addendum to his post from March 16th, which is what I read. And when I read that post, all I'm going to be able to do is provide you a summary, because this will provide some more insight to this. It was a very, very long post. In addition to my last post, I encourage everyone to study Revelations, study the signs of end times, study who the beast is, study who the Antichrist is, study who the false prophet is, and study the created images during those times. Back to my earlier point, Christians don't go on spiritual journeys. I mean, I get he's Farrakhan, but he's telling people here to study Revelations. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Quran, large sections of the Bible are in the Quran. And for those of you who just don't get the whole roots of Islam and Christianity, it all roots back to the Old Testament and Judaism. And the Old Testament is just a conglomerate of a bunch of books written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin in the first place. The minister is here. He's referring to Minister Farrakhan now. So he goes ahead and read Revelations, but Revelations is significant within the Quran and within the Bible. And he now switches. The minister, referring to Minister Farrakhan, is here to save me and the rest of humanity, even if it means facing death. Be willing to deny yourself and follow him. Pick up your cross. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his teacher, the exalted Christ, is alive and in power, and I bear witness. study the minister, watch his lectures, study Elijah Muhammad, study the mother wheel, which is present here in America. I bear witness again. We have very little time. Peace, Noah X. On his post that he put up the day before, that is the post that he explained about recent job loss. That is the post where he talked a lot more about biblical prophecy, about end of times. I can understand why Washington, D.C. Authorities at this point have called off the lockdown. This appears to be somebody, by what I've just read here, there's this blending, right, of Christian in his writings, on his page, there is blending of Christian dogma, Muslim dogma, identifying with Farrakhan, but still identifying heavily with Christianity. I could tell you a little bit more about him on the little bit I could see on his page before it got taken down. And if I learned a lesson today, if I think start screenshotting like crazy. If I had started screenshotting like crazy, I could have pulled a lot of this stuff. If you're just tuning in, what happened was I got information sent to me and going, hey, I think this is it. Somebody sent me a message. I went and I was like, I got a picture. I got a picture. I got a name. I've got a cover photo of his Facebook page. Let me do a trust but verify. Found the page, started reading through here on air, not reading it live. I didn't want to put it up until I confirmed. It immediately was fitting everything that was said. But one thing I could not find was Indiana. I couldn't find Indiana anywhere. Literally, when I was like, God, let me click here, and I found Indiana, the page disappeared. Facebook yanked his page down right at that very second. These are the screenshots that were, this was a link to these screenshots that were sent to me. To the best of my abilities, I do believe that this is the Noah Green, based on the MSNBC report, based on the fact that Facebook just put the page down, based upon the reports out of the news, and based upon the ramblings on their page. This was an individual, what I was literally getting ready to pull on the screen was the full length of what he wrote on the 16th. And I was just going to start reading it off because it really paints a picture of a very confused individual. And I'm not making excuses here. This is an individual blending multiple dogmas together. We can see this in this post again. And I'll read this second paragraph. The minister is here to save me and the rest of humanity, even if it means facing death. By willing to deny yourself and follow him, pick up your cross. I mean, I know you guys are, I know some of the chuds are just going to run. He's a Muslim. He's a Muslim. This is his words. That's what he wrote. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his teacher, the exalted Christ, is alive and in power. I bear witness. Study the minister, watch his lectures, study Elijah Muhammad, study the mother wheel, which is present here in America. I bear witness again. We have little time. Noah Green comes across as somebody absolutely convinced that Revelations was happening. This was the ends of times. He had multiple writings on his page about ends of times, Revelations. He also mentioned that on the 16th in this post, because he goes, in addition to my last post, that's the post I wanted to show you. That's the post from the 16th. So this is kind of what we have here. So I would say that anybody that's trying to put Noah Green in a box, e.g., he's a Christian fundamentalist, e.g., he is a Muslim terrorist, e.g., he is a chud. I would say anybody that's trying to put Noah Green into a box is not going to be able to put Noah Green in a box. And Dora, I completely understand there is a complete difference between the Nation of Islam and Islam. But my point is, Noah Green, of what we can see in his post, in his, I don't want to use the word manifesto. It didn't read like a manifesto. His views portrays somebody that slipped over the edge. and had a bunch of different things that were in there. And so this is what we know. Oh, Shell, you are amazing. Where did you find it? This thing that he wrote on the 16th is really important. Okay, wait a minute. This is the one from the 17th. All right, I'm going to pull this one over. This is part of it. This isn't all of it, but this is part of it. So there's another post he wrote on March 16th. This one is, that's why I say it's a long post. As you can see, it's cut off. I'm going to give you as much as we have here. Peace, friends, family, enemies, and the like. I wanted to give everyone an update as promised. To be honest, these past few years have been tough, and these past few months have been tougher. I have been tried with some of the biggest unimaginable tests in my life. I am currently now unemployed after I left my job, partly due to afflictions, but ultimately in search of a spiritual journey. I have had much to lean on the past few months. I've been faced with fear, hunger, loss of wealth, and diminution of fruit. My faith is one of the only things that has been able to carry me through these times, and my faith is centered in the belief of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as Jesus, the Messiah, the final divine reminder in our midst. I consider him my spiritual father. Without his guidance, his word, and his teachings that I've picked up on along the way, so there's a little typo there, I would have been unable to continue. So I wanted to give a personal testimony for the man who's accomplished such a great mission for the liberation of us, and all under the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, brought forth by Allah in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Since childhood, my faith has always carried me through the toughest of battles. I was able to graduate with distinction, earn a well-paying job straight out of college, pursue my graduate degree, despite not growing up in the best of circumstances. My ultimate goal was to learn business after hearing the words of the minister years ago, and to use that to improve the lives of communities most in need, particularly the communities of the black and brown here in the United States of America. Business is warfare, quote unquote, was the topic given by the minister that really inspired that path. I was on the right track, and everything I had planned was coming into evidence. It required long hours, lots of studying, and exercise to keep me balanced while experiencing and that's as much as we've got. The second half of this is what gets into like the whole Revelations thing and the end of the world thing and all right, I got the second part. Love me my malcontents. However, the path has been thwarted as Allah, God, has chosen me for other things. Throughout the life, I have set goals, attained them, set higher ones, and then been required to sacrifice those things. There is much confusion in this day and age in my perspective. The ongoing COVID crisis, unemployment, rising national debt, division within the political sphere, rumors of war, and the like. But one thing I'm assured everyone can lean on, as I've learned on, is faith in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan as the man who can carry us through the dark hour. As written in the Bible, you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. So if you question this man as the Jesus, I recommend taking a look at his life's work and the blessings Allah has filled him with. The raiser of the dead to life, making the blind see and the deaf hear, I bear witness, preaching to the multitudes, calling 1 million black men to Washington, and standing up to the most powerful government of modern times. He has done a miraculous work, not just with me, but with the lives of millions. A major goal of mine is to meet this man, and has been instrumental in my awakening and life's work. I am unsure if I'll ever be afforded this opportunity, but I wanted to write this note for two purposes: to give everyone an update, and in hopes that the note may somehow reach the minister. I encourage everyone to study the man and his teacher, the exalted Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So that is what he wrote. And then there was another post before that. So thank you to everyone who has been sending this over so that we can report to you what was going on in Noah Green's head while this was going on. So, and it looks like their feed has come to an end. I'm going to go ahead and switch this back over to here. He definitely was following Farrakhan. That's very, very clear. He did not get into, what physical ailment, because one of the things, he claims that he's lost his job in part because of health. We don't know if that's emotional health or physical health. It seems by his posts, it appears to be, we can speculate it's more emotional health than physical health. What we do know is this: Noah Green, Indiana, a confused individual that believed to his dying breath that Louis Farrakhan is Jesus Christ, based on his Facebook postings, drove to Washington, D.C. They believe there's connections to him in Virginia. He hit 2 Capitol Police officers, killing 1, rammed barricades to break into the north entrance of the Capitol where the Senate will go through, and then got out of a heavily damaged Nissan sedan, armed with a very large knife. We're hearing it described as a machete by the press. The police are saying a knife. I'm going to call it a very large knife and split the difference because I haven't seen a picture of it. And he was shot and killed by Capitol Police. 1 Capitol Police officer has died. We don't know the condition of the other Capitol Police officer. And the 1 suspect has died. Capitol was locked down. The lockdown has been lifted. This does not look like to be terrorism related at all. This does not appear to be QAnon related at all. This does not appear to be Black Lives Matter, Antifa involved in any way. It just looks like a very sad situation that has resulted in of an individual that has been radicalized by the thoughts of Louis Farrakhan, radicalized by Christian dogma, and made an ultimate decision. I hate the term suicide by cop, but boy, this one really kind of fits suicide by cop. I hate the term. Thank you for that, Boomer. I had heard that, was severely injured, but what I didn't hear, so thank you for that confirmation. So the second officer is in critical condition. I had been holding that back because I had heard, but what I didn't know was the critical condition was related to the officer who ultimately died or not. So the second officer is in critical condition. Yeah, look, I mean, we know how this is going to get spun, right? The right-wing media is going to say that, this was Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and he's a Muslim, and Louis Farrakhan's a Muslim, and, right, we know that's how that's going to go, to spin that through. Jamal, I didn't say that Louis Farrakhan told him to kill anybody. What I am just saying is that he was radicalized by his own postings that we just read. He was radicalized. And he contributes his radicalization to Louis Farrakhan. That's not media spin. We just read his words, had them up on the screen, word for word. And so there we go. Boomer, our researcher, has identified the name of the officer, Officer William Evans. That's correct, Rise PDX. What we were reading was his own words. He was radicalized. It's his own words. There's no spin. That's why I wanted to put it up on the screen. That's why we waited. That's why I do trust but verify. That's why I was refusing to speculate. That's why when I saw the speculation going in the comments, I was just watching the comments scroll and I wasn't jumping into it. That's why I'm just going with very large knife instead of machete or knife. I've heard machete, I've heard knife. I haven't seen a picture of it, so I'll know what to call it. You know, I think it's safe to say that, you know, this was not a knife you would use, say, to pick the dirt out of your fingernails. You know, it was probably something bigger than that. So we'll just have to wait to see, and we'll probably see within 12 to 24 hours on what that is. Did I quote Reagan? If I did, it wasn't intentional. Nola Blackbird, I have very bad news. In my very younger days, when I had a lot more up top here, I was a Reagan Democrat. I wasn't old enough to vote for Reagan, but I was a big Reagan fan. And I actually voted for Bush that was the first election I could vote for, was Bush in 88. And I voted for Bush. And I didn't vote for him in 92. And I didn't vote for Clinton in 92 either. I voted for Ross Perot. Ross Perot, the most successful third-party candidate in history. I've told this story many, many times. I literally cried that night. When Bill Clinton won, I was just like, oh, God, we're just doomed. We're doomed. And what got Bill Clinton to vote in 96, it's one of the most brilliant lines in politics. You know, ask yourself, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And that literally was the thing that goes, okay, wait a minute. I got to step back and look at some stuff. There were other things going on in the Republican Party. And look, I was an NRA member. I got out of the NRA when they started fighting against the Brady Bill and other issues, and they became a lot more of this political organization, far, far away from what they were when I became an NRA member. I was pretty frickin' conservative and pretty much down like the conservative checklist as you would define, say, a Reagan Democrat or a neoconservative, not in how you would define a conservative today. Because a conservative that you would define in the late 80s would be defined almost as a liberal in 2021. It is stunning to me how far this country has lurched to the right in 40 years and how far over the left really is from, say, where it was 40 years ago or 30 years ago. But if I go back 30 years, about the only thing when I go down the checklist, you know, because the only one that was on the left was I've always been pro-choice. I have always been pro-choice. I've always had the view of, like, for me, it's like it shouldn't even be a political issue. So I know I'm totally rat-holing on this, but I was pro-death penalty once upon a time. I really thought trickle-down economics was going to work. Wrong. Oh my God, so wrong. I think as time goes by, and I've said this publicly, Reagan's legacy will get further and further tarnished. There are more and more people in economic circles that are lining up and going, trickle down doesn't work. And the sooner we end this experiment, and not only does trickle down not work, we are on the brink of kind of destroying ourselves if we don't pull the plug on trickle-down economics. We're really, if we're not to an oligarchy, which I kind of think we are, I've said for probably half a decade now, if not a decade, that we live in a corporatism. We really don't live in a democracy. And I feel strongly about that. But boy, I've moved the other way on a ton of stuff. I'm still conservative on the guns, and I'm still still conservative on a couple of things. But I don't make my views invisible, because what you see is what you get. And I used to say, I should say it more often. Sooner or later, I'm going to say something, I'm going to piss you off. It doesn't matter how much a follower you are. I am sure I have pissed off some of my followers on something. And I've said many, many times, and I'll close with this. If you're here because you want an ideological, pure view of the world, meaning I want somebody to hold a mirror up and show an exact image. And I know mirror image isn't the right thing to use, but I want somebody to portray an exact image of everything that I think and believe. We're not the right channel for you. We're just not, because I will call it as I see it, and I will defend anybody that deserves to be. I will defend any. Look, there's been a few moments where it's like, look, I'm going to throw a bone to Donald Trump. He got this right. I'm going to throw him a bone. I have thrown bones at the Seattle Police Department. It's like, in this particular case, there was nothing else they could do. Yeah, I'm a total New England Patriots fan. I know. And you know what? Nola Blackbird, I will tell you this. I was so hoping for. I was thrilled that you had this, the old guy bowl. That's what I called it, right? That you had Breeze and Brady. I was so thrilled to see that. There is going to be a changing of the guard eventually, but damn, man. I know Brady isn't with the Patriots anymore, but the Patriots were just freaking horrific last year. And among Patriot fans, I'm total sidebarring from my views. But in Patriot fan circles, we were all joking. It's like, well, at least we could cheer for Tampa Bay, which I know hurts even more. If you're looking for somebody that's going to look at something and just call it objectively as they see it, and you're willing to accept that you're not going to have an ideological, pure view of the world, you're in the right place. We definitely lean left. There's some things we lean right on. There are things we have brought up where it hasn't happened in a while. It's actually, I remember we were in CHOP, and we were talking about the unhomed situation in CHOP. And it was a quiet night. I was winding down a stream, and I started talking about how broken the educational system was in our country. And this was very early into me broadcasting. And there were a ton of people, and I don't even think I had mods, or maybe only had a couple of mods at that time. It was like one of these things, there's a ton of people. Mods really couldn't stay ahead of everything that was going on. And as soon as I started talking about how broken the U.S. educational system was there was peace in the valley. The Chuds and the Black Lives Matter, they were all in agreement. It was amazing. Like it was kumbaya for about 30 minutes on our feed. And there was like 1,000 people watching, and everybody was just like, yes. And they were all sharing stories and examples. And I was like, see, we can agree on some stuff. So, and there seems to be strong agreement that the educational system in this country is really screwed up. There's also a lot more agreement, and I'll close with this. In Seattle, there is a lot more agreement about how broken our system is in addressing unhomed and people that are unhoused. There is actually really strong agreement that if there's anybody screwing this up, it's the city of Seattle and the policies and the organizations. I saw a report on, of all things, TikTok. I think it is King 5. I think it's a King 5 reporter that has a TikTok channel. She has a surprising low number of followers on that channel. It's in the low thousands, which I was really surprised to see it's that low. Every now and then things come up, And so she just does these little, 45, 60-second bursts of local news. Castro, her last name's Castro. If somebody knows who that is and what network they're with, I think they're King 5. And she was talking about how there's a push, they're moving to kind of organize all of these pieces together to actually take the $1 billion a year of public-private investment and get it better organized and better spent. And I was just like, oh, for the love of God, please let this happen. And please let the right people get to the steering wheel to let that happen. And let's just not turn this into, well, how much can we scrape off of the top and make this the gravy train for our administrative costs? So I'm going to close with, we have a ton of interviews over the next week. Really, really excited. The interview that we did with Dr. Fauci has opened up doors for us to get interviews with other people. We were on KBCS today. A big shout out to Amari and Converge for helping amplify the story we've been covering up in Marysville. Interview that we did was broadcasted on Seattle radio today, which I was just like, that's just so cool. A year ago, we were being called, Press Tifa, Antifa. 6-8 months ago, we were being called fake press. And like, it's real. And we're doing some real thing. Oh, Carta, there's so much grift in the poor money industry. There was a radio talk show. Was it Dory? I could never stand Dory. It wasn't Dory. There was someone else. They were on talk radio in Seattle. And like, Arky, totally. The change has been amazing and the growth has been amazing. Brenda, I'm reaching out to them because, yes, we've been reached out to. We've been asked to cover something up there in Marysville. And literally when I hang up on this, I'm going to do some outreach because I'm very, very cognizant of having people have to relive trauma and putting it up, and putting that on the air and having them do that. So I want to do a vibe check, right? Vibe check. Dory is your nickname. Well, we could just do the fish. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. So I just want to kind of do a vibe check and make sure they're really okay with us being there. We're going to ask the questions. We have to ask the question. We're going to do it. We have to ask the questions. Generally don't throw softballs, right? So anyway, that's what I need to find out on that. I really want to be cognizant of that. I know who they're talking to, and it's not the individuals that reached out to me. It's a proxy, and we just don't want to show up with our cameras and go, oh, we're here to traumatize you with our cameras. Jewish white guy here, right? Because that's the other thing that's been this amazing journey for us as an organization supporting LGBTQIA and the BIPOC community. We really wish we weren't as white as an organization as we are. We have reached out to a lot of Black and persons of color, and there's this reluctance, and like what's the angle? What's this white guy from the burbs want out of all of this? And I just want to make the world a better place. I get the distrust. I completely get the distrust. Video games okay. I'm like, you guys keep pulling me in. Don't show William the door, mods. Don't show him the door. He hasn't done anything deserving to be shown the door. I have a feeling one of the mods is like, there, it's camera, like, No. William, I'm going to tell you a story. I was working for a company, a big company that doesn't really exist anymore. Actually, I don't think they exist at all anymore. But I was working for a company, and this company was a computer company. They were a big computer. There's a lot of big computer companies that don't exist anymore. And at the time that I was there, they made more money on a $99 software package than they did on a $1,500 computer. And so I was the person actually responsible for all of the third-party software packages that were sold. And so we had all different kinds of third-party software. We had, like a photo editing package, and we had an entertainment package. We had a casual gaming package because casual gaming was just starting to become this really big category. We had a package that we jokingly called the redneck package, where it was like a four-wheel driving game and a hunting game and a fishing video game. That one sold really well, actually. And then we had ones that were all these, kind of third-party shooters, and the third-party shooter games take up a lot of horsepower. So one of the things that this particular computer company is and we had a DVD gaming bundle, which also takes up a lot of computing horsepower. So these are easy add-on sales. If somebody is, say, buying a $2,500 or $3,000 computer, and remember, that's in late 20th century dollars. So think about how much that would be in inflationary dollars, right? You're talking $6,000, $7,000 if you adjust for inflation. Maybe not that much, maybe $5,000, $6,000. A $99 software package it's just gravy. And those packages, because I'm not going to get into the whole mechanics of the deals. Well, this event happened called, you can go ahead and keep spamming the feed. I'm going to keep making my point. I will say, if you keep spamming the feed, the mods will go. They will go. So you can stop spamming the feed. You're getting my full attention, William. You should be happy that you're getting my full attention, because I can just say, show William the door. So behave. William doesn't want to behave. I guess someone will make it happen. Cancel Halloween. It's from the devil. Columbine happened. So Columbine happened when I was there, and I did have a conscience crisis. Did I contribute to this by some way in selling, in advocating and selling these type of games? And what I concluded was no, not even close. And the reason that I concluded no is that we sold into international markets, and so I knew the different geography, we call them geos in the industry, the different geographies, the different markets, and the requirements that they had in different markets. Germany had some really interesting requirements. These games were tightly regulated and restricted in Germany. You were not allowed red blood. You were not allowed to show dead bodies. So you would have to show basically green or blue blood or no blood. And then bodies would have to immediately disappear when they hit the ground. Like, these were really strict requirements if you're going to do any kind of gaming in Germany. On the other hand, countries like Korea and Japan, some of the games they play, holy crap, they're really into blood, guts, gore, and bang, bang, and kill everything in sight, really into it. And they don't have the same problems that we have. It's not video games. And with that, can somebody show William the door, please? Because I will just show him the door myself if I have to. But somebody could show William the door now. I'm wondering if William now is just a bot. They're kind of acting like a bot. And then I've just wasted my breath. All right, I need to get something in my stomach for lunch, and then I got to do a shit ton of client work. And then we've got to do, oh, thank you so much. Bye, William. Archie, congratulations. Congrats on that, Arky. I know, Arky, you're on a journey, and congratulations on that. And I actually I know you extended something out to me, Arky, and I really need to follow up on that. I've just been super busy. So, what did Unicorn Riot do? Unicorn Riot does some great friggin' stuff. So I need to get off the air because we have another stream that's kicking on in 5 minutes. It's our replay from last night. If you didn't see our stream, look, I'm going to close on this. If you didn't see our stream from last night, come back, 5 minutes, another stream. It's a replay from last night. It was a great show. And I am seriously out of here. Malcontent out. Malcontent News is a team of journalists, activists, and researchers with 3 key missions. A commitment to show an unfiltered view of the before, during, and after of key events live as it happens. To defend the First Amendment using our rights of a free press. And to amplify the voices of underrepresented individuals including Black, Indigenous, persons of color, and the LGBTQIA+ community. Our team is committed to seeking equality for all and holding those in power accountable. The easiest way to support Malcontent News is to bookmark our website at malcontentnews.com, like and follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and in the Google News app. To provide financial support, you can become a patron, make a one-time donation through Venmo, or link your Twitch account to your Amazon Prime account and use your free subscription to subscribe to Malcontent News. Thank you for supporting independent journalism and for being a malcontent.
You fit the profile. You're the malcontent.
Nobody wants to hear the nonsensical ravings of a loudmouth malcontent.
Fuck you! You are the biggest hypocrite on the face of the planet.
I say that you're a terrible